A cohabitation agreement is a domestic contract under family law. It's usually put in place by a couple that is involved romantically and are moving in together. They're cohabiting together. Some of them intend to marry in the future. Some of them intend never to marry. Why would someone do something like that? Well, life is expensive, and living in the Greater Toronto area has become very expensive over the last few years. And people have worked hard, saved money, and they want to protect that because, they all have good intentions when they first decide to move in together. But unfortunately, life happens, and sometimes those romantic relationships come to an end. In the meantime, parties have purchased property together, have invested in things together, have supported one another financially and emotionally, may even have children together. What we try to do is provide them with a plan if, in fact, the romantic relationship comes to an end, how they will divide their accumulated property and how things will play out. Marriage contracts, again, are another form of a domestic contract under family law. The Family Law Act has provisions with respect to dividing property between married spouses. From the date of marriage to the date of separation, any accumulations of wealth or any property that is owned on the date of separation can be divided. I mean, there are rules with respect to date of marriage deductions and how the matrimonial home was treated. But some people feel that it is necessary to contract out of those provisions of the Family Law Act. And they will have a contract negotiated between two competent family lawyers and the clients that will determine what will be divided and how it will be divided if and when the parties do separate. So the Family Law Act would not necessarily kick in. It would be the contract. It's basically the people themselves determining what will happen if and when they do separate. The property provisions of the Family Law Act do not apply at this time to common law partners. I'll give you an example. If you and your common law partner purchase a home and it is only in one partner's name, and, for example, you didn't contribute financially. However, you are in the relationship for 7 or 8 years. And during that 7 or 8 years, you paid for the pool, you paid for the roof, you paid for the cabana, the driving. But then all of a sudden, you separate. And because the property provisions of the family law do not apply, that person could simply say, hey, the house is in my name. It's my house. You're not getting anything. But in fact, they are entitled to some property claims, but they would have to use equitable claims. So that's why you need to sit down with an experienced family law lawyer to help you in those situations, quantify your contribution. However, if you're married, you don't need to go through that exercise. A lot less evidence is required to figure out a married spouse's share of net family property than it is to figure out what a common law partner's share of property is. It may be a little painful or uncomfortable drafting the agreement, but I think it's great planning. If the agreement, whether it's a cohab agreement or a marriage contract, is drafted properly with full financial disclosure, independent legal advice, and reflects a fair resolution of the matter in the future, it could save a lot of conflict when the parties do separate. So the uncomfortableness at the beginning could lead to an easier road at the end of it. Well, I think the first thing they should do is sit down with a family law lawyer, an experienced family law lawyer, and the first thing obviously is facts, information gathering. We like to know about the relationship, how long you've been in it. If there's a pending marriage date, we need to know about your health, your employment status, whether you own a business, your net worth, what do you own, what do you owe, and we need it all documented, your assets and liabilities. And then we come up with a plan, and what we discuss with you is the various types of marriage contracts and what we recommend. And I think the best thing to do also is work with another lawyer who's representing the other party and say, listen, before I put pen to paper here, these are the talking points that my client believes will go into the agreement. Is your client on the same page? There will be some points to be negotiated, but I think we need to make sure that we're aligned. I believe that if you've accumulated wealth, you're coming out of a relationship where you've divided half of your life's worth, and you don't want to go down that road again because you didn't have a marriage contract or a cohabitation agreement, I think it's great to plan. People plan with powers of attorneys for property and health, and they do wills. I think that as life gets more and more expensive, it is a great idea to sit down and review your finances with your accountant and a family law lawyer, because if a cohabitation agreement or a marriage contract is right for you, they'll be able to tell you and guide you along this process. If you're, two young kids right out of high school without any assets, it may not be something for you, because anything that you build will be built while you're married, and when you separate, it will be divided pursuant to the Family Law Act. If you're living as common law partners, even if you start with nothing, I think it's still a good idea to have a cohabitation agreement, because of the fact that the Family Law Act's property provisions do not apply to common law partners currently. My name is Raffaelle Masellis. I am the senior family law lawyer here and team lead of the family law division here at Pace Law Firm. I've got a great team that works for me. We are very experienced in negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and if need be, we are not afraid to litigate. We will ensure that your rights are protected. And the beauty about Pace Law Firm is that we are a full service. Family law intersects with almost every area of law. And fortunately, help is just a walk down the hallway for us. So I encourage you to call us to see if we can help you.